Unsung Murder Ballads discusses topics of a disturbing nature.
And we're not going to hold back on the graphic details and disturbing content.
So we do not recommend our podcast for children under the age of 13.
And while we respect the victims and their families involved in these tragic cases,
we're also going to be critical of mistakes that are made during the investigations.
And we're going to use dark humor to express ourselves now and then.
So with that said, this podcast may not be for everyone.
And that's okay. We're glad you're here checking us out.
And if you've made it this far, welcome to the Unsung Murder Ballads family. And follow us on Instagram at Unsung Murder Ballads if you want to talk to us.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Unsung Murder Ballads. This is episode 135. I am Janus Dead.
I'm Jameson Dead.
And I'm Joyous Dead.
Alrighty, so welcome back everybody, I guess. I feel like it's been forever, but it's only been a week. I've had a busy week. I guess that's the way to say that.
I'm right there with you. I feel like it's been a little while.
Yeah, this was a rough week. I work at a sports bar, for anyone who doesn't know, and it was a UFC fight this week, and those are hit or miss.
Oh, good God.
Yeah, and this last fight was not a miss. We were busy. I didn't get out of work till about 2:30 in the morning. I was exhausted.
Oh.
So I'm ready to. I need a vacation. Is what I need. So.
Mood.
Right.
Well, here's your vacation from your life into somebody else's.
Sort of, except our vacation into someone else's lives on these episodes generally aren't good vacations if you think about it.
I know.
No, but at least in comparison.
Yes, it makes
yes. Makes our lives look very easy, doesn't it?
Yeah, it makes you appreciate what you have a little bit.
Oh yeah.
That I agree with.
So with that said, let me dive right into this teaser then. So Katie knew her entire life that she had been adopted. She loved her adoptive parents, and they had provided a pretty good life for her. However, like most adopted children, she wondered who her biological parents were. What were they like, and how much of them was in her? As Katie was graduating from high school, she managed to find them thanks to social media. With great trepidation, Katie reached out to them. This act would begin a series of events on par with, in my opinion, opening Pandora's box.
Oh, shit.
Oh, dear.
And it certainly fell under the popular cliche of, be careful what you wish for.
Ah, crud.
So this is the case of Katie Fusco. Have you guys heard this one yet?
I do not think so. It is rare that I have.
Yeah, Katie Fusco. I heard it about 2 or 3 months ago. I heard it for the second time and was like, oh my God, yeah, I forgot about this one. So that's why I decided to move it up the list. So Katie Fusco was born on January 29th, 1998 in Austin, Texas, but her name at the time was Denise Plattle. Her parents, Stephen and...
What?
Denise
Plattle,
that was her birth name. But when she was adopted, she was given a different name.
Okay.
Okay. So her parents, Stephen and Alyssa, had met online in 1995. And for everyone who doesn't remember what the internet was like in 1995, it was like a new frontier, and there were not a lot of safeguards in place. Not that there are that many today. So as a result, her father, Stephen, who was 20 years old, met, and for lack of a better term, groomed her mother, Alyssa, who was only 15 years old.
Gross.
Oh, God.
Now, at some point, the two of them fell in love, and they were soon expecting an unplanned baby.
Was it mutual love or was it forced love?
It's mutual, although I am going to say she was definitely groomed. There's no way a 15-year-old voluntarily just falls in love with a 20-year-old without a lot of setup. But Alyssa,
right.
Yeah, exactly.
Something funky going on there.
Exactly. So Alyssa and Stephen ended up getting married, and in January of 1998, 17-year-old Alyssa gave birth to their baby girl, who she named Denise. Alyssa's original plan was to keep and raise the child, but after a few months, it became clear that that situation was untenable. According to Alyssa, Stephen abused Denise by pinching her until she had bruises
Ugh.
And to quiet her down when she was crying, he would put her in a cooler and close it.
What the fuck?
What the literal fuck?
Yeah, a couple times he did that to the point of near suffocation.
Oh, no. No.
Christ.
Yeah. So with no money and fearing for her daughter's safety, Alyssa made a difficult choice, which was the right choice. And she put her daughter up for adoption.
Oh, that's so sad because she would have died if she had stayed in that environment.
Absolutely. So in October of 1998, 37-year-old Anthony and his wife Kelly Fusco were living in a small house in Dutchess County, a large county on the eastern edge of New York, about 80 miles north of Manhattan. They shared their home with a daughter they had already had named Nicole. Now, throughout his life, Anthony had been a good, upstanding person. After he graduated high school, he enlisted in the Coast Guard, and he climbed through the ranks and ultimately retired with a good reputation. After his discharge, Anthony began working as a correctional officer at a correctional institution, and he also devoted himself to the local community. On top of all those things, Anthony served as a member of the town's zoning boards of appeals. So this dude's keeping himself busy, and he's trying to do good in the world. He was also a member of a nonprofit that supported music programs for teenagers, and he was a parishioner and CCD teacher at his local church. Despite having a full-time job, a wife and a child, and many community responsibilities, Anthony still wanted to do more. In the late 1990s, Anthony and his wife Kelly discussed the possibility of adopting a baby. So in October of 1998, Anthony and Kelly formally adopted a 10-month-old girl, and they named her Katie. According to relatives and friends of the Fusco family, Katie was raised in an especially supportive, loving environment, and she had a pretty normal upbringing. She attended public school, she made close friends, and was a typical teenager. She loved animals, and she was a vegetarian. She was also known by the nickname Pac-Man because everyone always caught her eating something. And for those who don't know, that's a video game about a little yellow thing eating pellets, I guess.
Yeah.
While being haunted by ghosts. I don't really understand that game.
Yeah, it's a weird one.
Why ghosts?
And eating fruit.
Yeah, that's right. And fruit empowered him to kill the ghosts. Kinda. I guess
because not everything has to make sense.
I guess not. You're right. So during junior high school, Katie became known as an aspiring artist that liked to draw comic strips. And by the time she was in her late teens, she realized that in addition to her passion for drawing, she also really enjoyed the internet, as we all do.
Yeah, typical.
Yeah, at this point, there's no one who doesn't enjoy being on the internet, at least for some part of the day. So she used the internet to share her artwork. One of her many online profiles, she described herself as follows, quote, "I am naive, young, and extremely odd. I'm awkward and quiet and kind of predictable. But that doesn't say a whole lot because sometimes I'm loud and outgoing and pretty sporadic. Some days I love indie and other days I love dubstep. I hate mainstream and people and socializing with strangers. My life is the internet and my work is my art. My behavior is that of a 5-year-old and I believe in magic more than I believe in reality. I am a bit confusing. So you just have to see for yourself, I guess." Unquote.
Yeah, this is some typical teenager shit.
Yeah. I mean, I give her credit for being, it's clever in a lot of ways. Like not that I know a lot of teenagers, but most people I knew in their teens weren't that introspective. They just put some stupid quote from a rock song or something.
Yeah, this sounds like I don't know if you know what website this was, but it sounds like a DeviantArt profile.
It may very well be. It didn't, in my research, I didn't see it, or if I did, I didn't record it down, so. Now, like many teenagers, Katie struggled to find herself. But for her, the struggle was compounded by the fact that she knew that she was an adopted child.
That's fucking tough.
Yeah, Katie wanted to know who she was, or at the very least, where she had come from. And by the time she turned 17, Katie got more into digital art and photography and graphic design, and she used that artwork to make statements about women's rights. She made a website for herself to showcase her portfolio and shared her aspirations and future plans. She wrote that
This is a very driven young girl.
Yes, which makes all of this that much more tragic. She wrote that she hoped to attend Dutchess County Community College before transferring to another school known for its visual arts programs. She also started sharing that she ultimately hoped to pursue a career in digital advertising, and it seemed that she had her future completely mapped out. She was a woman poised for success, but there was still that one thing eating away at her. She wanted to know where she came from. So she started tracking down her real parents, and through the magic of social media, she was able to find them. In 2016, not long before she was set to graduate high school, Katie learned the names of her biological parents. They were then 42-year-old Stephen Plattle and his wife, 37-year-old Alyssa. Now, this couple, believe it or not, they got married and they stayed together. And they were living in...
Wow, he abused their child so bad that they had to give it up for adoption.
And she stayed with him.
Wow.
Here we are, 18 years later, they're still together.
That's insane.
They were living in Henrico, a suburb of Richmond, Virginia. And for some reason, like I said, don't really understand it, they'd remained together and married, and they had 2 more daughters.
2 more? Holy shit.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Now, with a little more life experience behind them, they were able to keep these children and raise them. Now, I don't know that the state would have come in to take them, but clearly Alyssa felt it was a safe enough environment as they got older and matured, I am assuming.
We can only hope.
As fate would have it, in June of 2016, the daughter that they had put up for adoption 18 years before was reaching out to them through social media. After a few months of messaging back and forth, Katie graduated from high school, and she decided to postpone her college plans.
Whoa.
Instead, she opted to go live with Stephen, Alyssa, and her 2 sisters in Virginia.
Well, there's
Now
mistake
that
1 and 2.
is nuts.
For Katie, this was a chance to get to know the long-lost family, and she was fully embracing it. Her adoptive parents, Anthony and Kelly Fusco, weren't exactly thrilled that they were going to delay her going to college, but they eventually came around and gave Katie their blessing and, helped her move to Virginia. As any supportive parents really should. I mean, it may not be the best decision, but again, she's young and she can always make up for it later.
Right. It's like your child's going to make a decision. Your choice is to support them or not support them.
Correct.
And it's always better to support your child.
Correct. Unless they're on a really destructive path.
Right.
And Katie was also 18 at this point, so really they can't do anything to stop her. And what would it accomplish if they tried? Exactly. So as Katie moved in with the Plattles, the transition from one family into another went as smoothly as one could hope. It was a meaningful and happy family reunion, and the Plattle family welcomed Katie in openly and warmly. She was even given her own bedroom. Unfortunately, the good times didn't last very long, and as the joyous change from the Plattles family's life soon adjusted back to their previous reality, because obviously they're excited, they have this new family member, everyone's happy and having a great time, Katie began to realize that Stephen and Alyssa's marriage was just barely holding together. The couple didn't sleep in the same bed together, and Katie could sense the tension in the home. Whatever passion may have been there that kept them together all those years was obviously long gone.
Yikes.
About 3 months after Katie moved in with them, Katie's father, Stephen, began sleeping on the floor in Katie's bedroom.
No, God.
Oh, I don't like where that's going.
No.
And then, on one fateful night in September of 2016, Stephen climbed into bed with his own 18-year-old daughter.
Gross.
No.
Katie, however, did not seem to mind.
I'm sorry, what?
I mean, was he immediately sexually abusive?
Well, 3 months After moving in, she was in an ongoing consensual sexual relationship with her biological father.
Oh,
Oh,
God.
oh, Lord.
Yeah. Soon after
Oh,
her biological mother, Alyssa, moved out of the house and filed for divorce. Alyssa later claimed that she had suspicions about Stephen's and Katie's relationship, but had not been completely aware of how far it had actually gone.
yeah.
After Alyssa filed for the divorce, she and Stephen shared custody of their two daughters, and by January of the following year, Stephen told these two daughters to refer to Katie as their stepmother, even though they
Disgusting.
No. Oh,
even though they knew she was their sister.
ew.
That's so fucking gross.
Yeah.
Wow, thanks. I hate it.
Yeah, I told you this case is fucked up. I had to move this up the list. It was too fucked up not to share right away.
Yeah, that's fucking crazy.
So now that her biological mother was out of the house, Katie and her father, Stephen, had an announcement to make.
No.
Oh, please don't.
No.
Katie was pregnant.
Oh.
No.
Yeah.
No, you can't do this to me.
When Katie's mother found out about the pregnancy, she immediately called the police.
Yep, correct.
In Virginia, incest is a felony that carries a potential 10-year prison sentence.
Okay, good.
Both Stephen and Katie were questioned by the Henrico County police officers, but for whatever reason, nobody was arrested.
What?
Police at their
Weird.
finest. Police at their finest, right?
Oh, God.
Right. I guess there's like, if they had something better to do, like arrest someone for like murder or rape, like incest is nasty, but like,
Yeah, I don't really know how that would work. Like, I would assume it would be like just like if you robbed a bank, they would just show up and put you in handcuffs, but maybe it's not. I don't know. It's also
I don't know.
Virginia, and I know Virginia's not quite Mississippi, but yeah, crazy.
yeah, I don't know.
So a few months later, Stephen and Katie decided that they need to get out of Virginia, and they moved to Knightsdale, North Carolina, with their baby on the way.
Gross. Oh, it's so nasty.
Then, after a little bit of time, they decided they wanted to get married.
Yeah.
No, that's not legal.
Why?
I guess it's not legal if the clerk doesn't find out.
But, they have that whole father-daughter thing, which is a real pain in the ass when you want to marry your fucking father, I guess, right?
Well, they don't have the same last name, so I mean, like you go to the town hall and you ask for a marriage license.
Which
I ain't gonna know.
What's really funny, you just summed up my next 3 lines.
Oh, well, would you look at that?
That's
We're so good at predicting what's gonna happen.
That's exactly how they pulled it off. She kept her name as Fusco, and he kept his name as Pladdle, and no one was the wiser.
That's
Gross.
just.
Now, one of the most fucked up parts of this whole thing is that on the surface, it seemed like all of Katie's loved ones were okay with her marrying her father.
What the fuck? Even her adoptive parents?
Yeah, and literally, this engagement is out in the open, and her adoptive parents attended the wedding ceremony.
What?
What the hell is going on?
What is wrong with you people?
What's going on?
There are literally photos showing everyone there with smiling faces and her with her hand rested on her swelling belly. Yeah.
Gross. I hate it.
Like, if you don't know what's going on, it's a pretty normal looking-ish photo. But, like, once you know, it's bizarre as fuck.
They knew, didn't they?
They did know. And when asked, her adoptive parents said they attended the ceremony because they felt there was nothing else they could do but support their daughter, because they were afraid that if they didn't, she would push them out of her life.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense to my earlier point about like you have two choices.
Yes, exactly.
That's still nauseating.
Yeah,
you can show support and still be a lifeline in case something goes wrong, or you can not show support and then you're not really a lifeline.
Right, and then that kid's alone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Fuck. That's tough.
They did say the situation sickened them, but they pushed through it and kept their opinions to themselves. So fucked up.
I don't know if I would fully do that, but
Yeah, I would have expressed myself at least to her in private, but, I don't know. It's crazy. The whole fucking thing is crazy.
yeah, it's actually impossible to put ourselves in these people's shoes. It's just fucking.
Right?
I've never.
You're right. It's absolutely impossible because this would never really ever happen in any other circumstance.
No, this is some of the weirdest shit I've ever heard.
Like, we've said this a lot. If this happened in a movie, I would have called bullshit.
Exactly.
So later, on September 1st, 2017, Katie gave birth to her brand new baby, and she and her father/husband named their new son Bennett. Now, needless to say, because we're discussing it here, things quickly take a turn for the worst for them.
Yeah, I imagine.
Yeah. After only a few months...
I wonder if her abusive dad abused their child.
Oh, just wait. Only a few months after Bennett's birth, both Stephen and Katie were arrested for their incest and adultery charges. Custody of their...
Adultery?
I'm not really sure. Probably when he was cheating on Alyssa with his own daughter in the house.
Yeah, with their own daughter. Yeah.
Yeah, their own daughter, yeah. Custody of Bennett was granted to Stephen's mother, the baby's grandmother and simultaneously great-grandmother. At this point, both...
It's just weird.
It's fucking weird, right? I can't even fathom why anyone would want to do this, but...
Yeah, it's like, did no one tell her that the reason she was adopted was because her father was abusing her in the first place?
Clearly not.
Clearly no one is...
Yeah, I mean, the Fuscos may not have had any idea. I'm assuming they did not. They couldn't have.
Right, but her mother would have known.
Alyssa should have saved her, yeah. So I blame Alyssa for some of this.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, both Stephen and Katie were facing their potential 10-year prison sentence. While waiting for their court proceedings to move forward, they both bonded out of jail. As part of the terms of their release, however, Stephen and Katie were given a no-contact order and were instructed to have no communication with each other at all.
I
As
wonder
if
if they did
happened.
that.
Yeah, no way.
Right after release, Stephen went to his home in North Carolina, which wasn't that far from his mother's house, and therefore he was close to his newborn son. Katie, on the other hand, went back to New York State and moved back in with her adoptive parents, the Fuscos. At some point, the reality of Katie's situation must have come into focus for her, because she began to realize how twisted and bizarre her life had become. And after only a few months of being away from Stephen, Katie decided she wanted to end their relationship.
Took you long enough.
Well, I mean...
Yeah, I don't know if that gets you out of the incest charges.
True. But, you gotta I can kind of see it. She was swept up in it. You know what I mean? Especially because...
Yeah, when it's just...
Yeah.
Fucked up people are really good at being charismatic. I don't know.
Right. It's also why these reality shows where they drop people on some deserted island for a couple months, they think that after 2 months they're completely in love, and then at the end they don't stay together because they didn't really fucking know each other.
Right, exactly.
I look at it something like that. Finally reality is coming back to Katie. On December 11th, 2018, despite the no contact order, 20-year-old Katie Fusco called Stephen on the phone and broke off their relationship. The very same day, she also finalized her plans to drive to Stephen's mother's house in North Carolina to see her son Bennett. The drive from her home in New York to North Carolina was going to be a long one, so her adoptive father, Anthony Fusco, offered to make this trip with her.
Oh no, I'm scared.
What the two of them did not know was that after Katie's call to him, Stephen Plattle had driven from his home in North Carolina to the Fusco's residence in Dutchess County, New York. He literally drove 500 miles in a single night.
Wow.
When he arrived there, he parked his van near their driveway and waited for Katie to emerge from the home. The next morning, She and Anthony left the house and climbed into Anthony's pickup truck and began to drive to North Carolina. Katie was driving and she pulled out of the driveway, and both she and Anthony were completely unaware that Stephen was sitting nearby watching them with an AR-15 rifle on his passenger seat.
No.
He then followed them as they traveled south towards the town of New Milford, Connecticut. And then, at an intersection, Katie and her adoptive father sat at a stop sign waiting for their chance to cross Route 55 when Stephen Plattle pulled up alongside them. There was a witness to what happened next. He called 911 and said, and basically described to the dispatcher that a vehicle had pulled up alongside Anthony's pickup truck. He saw the driver pull out the rifle and empty the magazine into the truck.
Oh, no.
The caller was frantic as the 911 operator asked if the occupant of that truck was dead. And the caller said, "Yes, sir. His brains are on the road."
No.
No.
And in less time than it took me to say all that, it was over and Stephen fled the scene. When police and emergency services arrived, Anthony and Katie Fusco were found covered in their own blood, and they were both dead.
Oh.
Within the following hours, investigators pieced together what had happened and who was responsible. Not that it takes much investigative skills, let's be honest.
Yeah.
The few minutes after the shooting, Stephen pulled over and called his mother, who in turn did the right thing and called 911.
Mm-hmm.
Stephen's mother told the police that her son had just confessed to murdering multiple people, including his own daughter/wife and her adoptive father.
Ugh.
Police also learned that Stephen's horrific act did not begin with murdering his daughter and her adoptive father.
Oh, no.
Oh, shit.
On the day before Stephen gunned them both down, he had driven to his mother's house and picked up their son, Bennett.
No, 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 no.
He drove him back to his house where he murdered the boy and left his body in a closet.
Oh, my fucking God.
Police have never disclosed the cause of Bennett's death, but they did reveal that he did not sustain any noticeable injuries or trauma, and they believe that it was likely he was smothered.
Oh. Really fucking sad.
It's crazy. It's fucking nuts. Like, this poor girl just wanted to know who her biological parents were. If there was one moment...
about Pandora's box.
Told you. Like, if there was one moment you could go back in time and just switch, that would be the moment. The moment she decided to reach out to them. Yeah. After killing his son, he drove to Connecticut, where he killed his daughter and her adoptive father, Anthony Fusco. Mercifully, when Katie was killed, she was completely unaware that Bennett, whom she was on her way to visit, was also dead.
Oh.
A few hours after her death, just 5 miles from where Stephen had killed her, police found Stephen's minivan. Inside, they also found Stephen dead as the result of a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Bitch.
Coward.
Yep, fucking coward shot himself in the head. I fucking hate that so much.
Oh, that's
Same.
so annoying.
So Stephen was a shitty person his entire life. There's no doubt about that. We only need to look back at what he did to his young wife, Alyssa, to see all the evidence of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yet somehow these murders caught many of the people who knew him off guard. The lawyer, yeah, it's crazy. The lawyer who was representing him throughout his incest allegations claimed that Stephen never gave any indication that he would hurt anyone, let alone murder someone. With Stephen dead, we can only make educated guesses as to motive, but he was facing a potential 10-year prison sentence and the end of his relationship with his daughter/wife, which is so fucked up to say.
So fucked up.
He clearly felt that everything was lost, and instead of just taking his own life, he selfishly ended the lives of 3 other people. As for Katie, many people have asked why she would even entertain the idea of being in a relationship with her own biological father. Now, while we may not know the answers, obviously, it's likely she was just seeking some form of validation and got caught up in this guy's charismatic bullshit.
Right. And was probably just like, he took advantage of the fact that she was just, happy to have any relationship with her family. And I mean, I'm sure to her, in her mind, like, he wasn't really her father. He wasn't.
Yeah, exactly. She didn't grow up with
him her
him.
whole life. Like, he was just some guy.
Right. And and we don't know what he was whispering to her or saying to her while sleeping on the floor all those nights.
Right.
He may have really put forth a very sad state.
Yeah.
Now, there is something that people have talked about when talking about this case that I'm going to bring up, even though I'm almost loath to bring it up, because I hate that it even exists in the world. But there is something known as genetic sexual attraction. This is
what the fuck is that?
What is that?
It's a term that was first used in the 1980s to describe the attraction that may exist between adoptees and their newly discovered relatives.
What the fuck?
Yeah, this goes on to explain that people tend to be sexually attracted to those who resemble them in both physical appearance and mentality. So the sexual attraction between relatives who grow up together is almost completely unheard of. But experts believe that, as part of this aspect of human evolution that works on some subconscious level, normally you'd prevent this, but because these are two relatives that didn't grow up together and had been separated, they can actually have a sexual attraction to each other. It's really fucked up.
Weird.
Yeah.
Gross.
I don't know how much I buy into that, but it's out there. People talk about it with this case, so I can't just leave it out. But yeah, it's fucking gross. And it's possible that Katie was just genuinely attracted to Stephen. And like you said, she never really saw him as a father at all.
Right, because it's like, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you've looked at pictures. I don't know how much they even looked alike. They don't look like their parents.
They didn't look that much alike. Katie is actually quite attractive, where Stephen looks like an unkempt hillbilly type, like the kind of guy you wouldn't trust to babysit your kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's very clear that Stephen never once considered Katie his daughter. Like that, in my mind, he never thought, or it didn't matter to him. But
right.
Regardless of all that, Katie unfortunately longed to understand and embrace her roots, and Stephen Plattle, being the sick fuck that he was, took advantage of that, and he manipulated Katie to get what he wanted. And that is the case of Katie Fusco and the death of Anthony Fusco and Bennett Plattle and this scumbag Stephen Plattle.
Wow, thanks.
Fuck.
I fucking hate it.
Holy fuck.
This was a rough case. Luckily, it's not that long.
That's it. That sums it up right there. It's just those two words. That was insanity.
Impressively disgusting and awful.
It had every possible, you can't possibly throw another curveball in here, and yet there it was.
For real.
Yeah. When I heard this, I remember I heard it
When you just kept saying, just wait, I was like, oh, God.
And like I said, when I heard it the first time, I knew I was because when I heard it, we didn't have a podcast. And I was like, that's so fucked up. And then I forgot about it until, I don't know, a few months ago. And all of a sudden, I'm like, I have to cover this one.
Yeah, the people need to know about this nasty shit.
Yeah. Anyone listening, if you know someone who's getting involved with a family member, stop them. What
if you can. I don't know if you've ever tried to break a couple up, Janus, but it's not exactly easy.
You're right, it's not, because I have tried in the past.
In fact, when you try, sometimes it just makes them dig deeper.
Well, not only that, not the one time, I spoke to a couple of my friends about my unhappiness with their relationships with their current people, and it never ends well, but, it always ends up in an argument and me and that person not talking for a bit or something. And then eventually that relationship breaks up anyway, and I'm just sitting there like, hi.
Right, and it's not worth the I told you so to have
right.
Your friendship be fucked up.
You're right. Although I do have to say, one of my friends proved me wrong, because I didn't truly know his now wife when I made the statement. I just was suspicious of how quickly she had wanted to get married. But now, all these years later. I absolutely adore his wife. I'm so glad they're still together. But it was just one of those like, dude, really? You don't know each other. You're going to get married now? Like it shocked me is all.
Some people just know. I guess when you know, you know. Sometimes you think you know and you don't know, and there's actually no way to tell.
Exactly. You just have to go with it. And the sad part is people change. Like you literally we're not the people we were 100% 5 years ago, 10 years ago, etc. People change. And there's just no way. And that's why I don't know that I believe in the institution of marriage. I don't think
Fair enough.
I don't think we were meant to do that. We did it for property purposes originally, I think.
I don't know. That's a good history question.
That is. I should have looked it up. But I didn't know I was going to say that statement.
Well, we're a little off topic at the point of
Well, no, we're talking.
One thing I know about marriage is that parents shouldn't marry their kids.
Absolutely. That is definitely a statement that's 100.
I feel secure in that statement.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Fuck Stephen Plattle, right? I hope he's burning.
Fuck that guy.
I don't believe in an afterlife, but I hope he is burning and just, he's just a tortured individual for all of eternity.
Yeah, I don't believe in an afterlife, but I hope there is one, and I hope he's burning.
Yeah, agreed. Fuck this guy. So anyway, with all that said, thank you everyone for listening. Once again, I am Janus Dead.
I'm Jameson Dead.
And I'm Joyous Dead.
And we'll see you next week.
Bye.